Welcome back to Weeknight Mysteries. My name is Yuras and I'm joined with my co-host Rain. How are you?
I'm all good. Hello, everyone. It's been a while again.
It's been a while again. Our apologies. We have taken a bit of time to record another episode.
It's the thesis again.
It's and some other external things that were happening, but we are trying to jump back on track here. Today we want to talk about the David Schultz case, a case that we had talked about roughly around a month ago. If you recall, Rain, it involves a 53-year-old truck driver from Iowa who went missing under very mysterious circumstances. And this man went missing on the second part of last November, so it's been over 2 months, I believe, that he has been missing. It's been over 70 days at this point. So we wanted to kind of jump back into this case because we did see a lot of traction for this particular case on our YouTube channel. And by the way, I want to thank everyone who has recently subscribed to our YouTube channel. Even though we haven't been uploading anything, your support, guys, means a lot to us and basically is a driving force. And on top of that, we had an idea to talk about a little bit about a different case, an older case, but then we decided to jump back to talk about and focus our efforts on more recent cases because that makes more sense, right? Because we're not gonna, make the best possible documentary about a case that happened like 100 years ago. However, we could try to spread some awareness and give our takes on recent happenings. And on top of David Schultz's case, I also have prepared to talk about a couple other disappearance cases that are happening recently, and they are also cases that have caught my interest. So before we get rolling, what do you recall about David Schultz's disappearance? Do you still have anything in your mind? Do you have anything that kind of stuck with you from that case? And did you have any kind of theories or things of that manner after we talked about it a month ago?
Yeah, I remember he was a truck driver who was on his route to some destination using his truck, of course. And then midway, or probably very close to the final leg of his trip, by the way, he just vanished, and his truck was found in the middle of the road with everything intact.
Yeah, with seemingly everything intact. So I'm gonna read out a little bit more information to kind of refresh everyone's memories. So you're actually spot on the general story. Basically, on the evening of November 20th of last year, 2023, David left his family home in Wallet Lake, Iowa to go to work. He was scheduled to pick up a load of pigs in Eagle Grove, Iowa, which is this kind of small town in Iowa, and then deliver them to Sac City, which is this kind of bigger city in Iowa. And I believe in Sac City there is this cattle market, I would assume, where they sell cattle and people can buy cattle like pigs. Unfortunately, David never made this towards his destination to Sac City. On the following morning, on the 21st of November, his wife, Sarah, was informed that David never made it to the scheduled delivery point. It was then clarified that the pigs had been loaded from the original site in Eagle Grove. However, David himself never really arrived to Sac City to turn those pigs into the market. In the afternoon of that same day, David's semi was located. The semi was found unlocked. It was parked in the middle of the road, and the trailer was loaded with pigs. It was identified that David's cell phone, his wallet, and cash were in his truck. According to Sarah, his wife, David had over $2,000 in his wallet.
Ooh, that's a big chunk.
That's a big chunk of money. And apparently it's a normal chunk for truck drivers, especially truck drivers that are passing like tolls, road tolls and things of that nature. Apparently it's easier to pay by cash than it is to pay by debit card or credit card. And some of the establishments will only take cash. So I think for truck drivers to carry a big wad of cash is a normal thing,
Yeah.
seemingly. His coat, interestingly, was located in a nearby ditch. And something we haven't mentioned last time, his coat also had some items in it. I believe it was his earphones and a pocket knife. I'm not really sure if these, items paint a better picture for us, but, something that we had not brought up the last time. The coat also had some items. I think these items are generally normal items that you would keep in your coat. An earbuds and a pocket knife.
Yeah, and especially for a truck driver, a pocket knife would be probably acceptable. Regular thing.
Exactly. Probably you have to kind of get your hands dirty, cut something. You know what I mean? I would probably assume that's a normal situation. I also want to kind of go over the timeline just a little bit to kind of refrain everyone's memories. So David Schultz left his home to pick up the load of pigs at, I believe, 7 p.m. in the evening on November 20th. And according to his wife, he was in a rush. But I think he was in a rush because maybe he was working all day long. And David Schultz, once again, want to emphasize that he is a family man. He really likes his family, his two 10-year-old sons, which just kind of makes you feel terrible for this whole situation. He apparently was in a rush to kind of get to work, and I think he arrived in Eagle Grove at around 10:50 p.m. and he was reported to be a little bit late to pick up the truck, and he was to pick up the load, and he was the last person to leave Eagle Grove as well. Now, sometime later, and this is a situation where this is why I'm talking about the timeline, because I want to clarify this one detail. I think this may have been a mistake on our end, and I think this might have been a mistake by an official press release from the sheriff's office, but I could be confused here. But what I'm talking about is, I don't know if you remember, but a month ago when we were talking about this case, we were talking about how David Schultz was picked up by CCTV cameras at a marker 126 truck stop. Remember, I was talking about how that truck stop seemed very fancy, like a very fancy truck stop. You recall that?
Yeah, I vaguely remember it.
So I was going through some comments. I can't recall where exactly. It was either Reddit or YouTube. I believe it was maybe YouTube. And I believe that person who commented, and they had a lot of likes and almost kind of gave me the vibe of like credibility, is that particular sighting of David on that marker 126 truck stop happened the day prior to him going missing, not on the same day. And if that is the case, then that would mean that we don't actually have information that David was actually driving the truck at that point, which would kind of lead us to believe that maybe there's avenues to explore, that maybe David wasn't the one driving the truck at that point. I mean, who knows at this point, but I guess that one detail, does that make sense what I've just said?
Yep,
Was it understandable?
definitely.
Okay, that's good. Then we can kind of jump a little bit later into the timeline. 18 minutes past midnight on the 21st now, the cell phone records showed that David arrived at Highway 20 and 71 intersection at 18 minutes past midnight. Then the data shows that his phone started traveling north to where the truck was found. And remember, we talked about how this was very strange because he was supposed to go south towards Sac City, but for some reason he started driving north, which now, since some time has passed and we have no idea what happened to David at this point, makes me wonder what exactly does that mean? I don't think we emphasized enough. Was the decision to drive north, was it made by David, or could it have been made by someone else? And I want to bring in another detail. And I was listening to David's wife, Sarah, talk about the case on, I forgot, this other woman who organizes search and rescue. And I was listening on their TikTok, I guess, show when they were talking about this case. And I think they brought up a certain detail that right at around that Highway 20 and Highway 71 intersection, there were black marks. And I think they kind of thought that it may have been left by a truck. And this is important because David's truck, I believe it was 19-gear truck. I'm not a truck expert, but some trucks have a lot more gears than just a normal car. So it almost makes you think that maybe if David was not controlling the truck at that point, at that intersection where he seemingly made the wrong turn and started heading north, maybe someone else was actually making that turn and they didn't know how to operate his truck properly and made those black marks. So those black marks that were allegedly found at that intersection may have came from his truck and also might have been made by someone else other than David, because David was very good at driving trucks. It was his passion. And it would be weird if he would make that mistake on his own. I'm not sure if those marks are even connected to his truck, but that's something that his wife brought up and something interesting.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's pretty hard to identify if the black marks were actually from that specific truck because it was a highway.
It was a highway, yeah, but maybe it's possible by taking a look at the tires. I mean, once again, not really an expert, but just something to think about, right?
Yeah.
And the cell phone data suggests that David's truck stopped in the middle of the road at 40 minutes past midnight. So 22 minutes after he took that wrong turn. Allegedly, he took that wrong turn. And I want to emphasize the fact that his truck was not found by the side of the road. It was literally found in the middle of the road, like blocking other traffic. So
that's pretty weird.
That's pretty weird. Could you think of any reason why would David Schultz, driving his own truck, would take the wrong turn and then 20 minutes later driving in the northern direction would just stop in the middle of the road?
Well, I initially assumed he probably got confused and he wanted to get out of his truck, maybe just to take a little breather, maybe to pee. And then in the field, and then maybe there was like a ditch there and he fell into it.
Yeah, but that's probably your initial thoughts, right? Because his body was not found anywhere there.
Yeah, and it seems like everything's intact. He did not leave in a rush. And his coat was hanging somewhere nearby outside. So it seems to me like it was to his own accord. Because nothing's missing. If it were someone else, why would they leave that $2,000? That alone, just, I don't know. And a truck with a load of pigs, I mean, you would get a lot of money from that.
Yeah, and I looked into it a little bit. Some people are thinking that maybe the pigs might have been the thing, that the actual cargo might have been the thing that could have potentially attracted criminals to try to steal the the goods, but they haven't been stolen.
Yeah. And why leave it?
And why leave it? Exactly. So,
I mean, if you're gonna steal and you're gonna make a man disappear, why leave the cargo? Like if your first intention is to take the cargo, why was it still there?
That's a very good point. I don't really have any explanations regarding that. I do want to bring up one thing that I think I forgot to mention earlier on. For everyone who's listening to this podcast, I would like everyone to check out our description, because we have left a GoFundMe page that has been created to support David Schultz family, because David Schultz family is basically has lost a huge financial source.
And their father.
And there's a lot of strain happening in the family. I believe the set goal is $20,000 to support the family, and they are actually at, I believe it was over $17,000. So it's right there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and people have been chipping in, trying to help out Sarah as much as possible. And I've also looked into Sarah's comments as well. She has been very active on Facebook, and she has told the media that she had received gifts from all across America. People are sending kind of individualized gifts, so I think that's a very nice thing.
That's so nice.
So if anyone listening here, if you kind of feel like you want to do something nice, and I personally feel that this is something super nice that you could do, because David Schultz has two 10-year-old sons, and I've seen some pictures of David with his children, and he seems like he loves them to death. He seems like such a great father to his children. So if you would like to support somehow David's family in this very dark time, please go to the description, and please leave a donation of any amount that you would be willing to donate. I feel like David's kids, his children, would really appreciate that. Speaking about that, I just kept thinking about them actually, and it kind of made me feel really bad, because I did see, like, they looked like they really loved their father.
Yeah.
And David definitely looked like someone who would constantly hang out with them, and from all accounts was a terrific father. And the fact that he went missing is just a terrible situation.
But this also kind of rules out the suicide.
Definitely.
Yeah, right?
I don't even want to think about that. You know why? Because apparently David had a lot of goals in his life. He had his whole family there. He was talking to his elder parents on a weekly basis. Also heartbreaks for the parents as well.
Yeah.
I think he had recently purchased, and this is according to his wife, a passion project type of a semi-truck that he was restoring so he could use it for work. So he had a lot of things in the works. He was a really busy guy, and I don't think he had any time to even think about that with that whole big family of his.
Yeah.
Like he was he had so many responsibilities.
He had a life.
There was just no indications. I don't think he was that type of a person. Obviously you can never know, but I doubt it. The way he disappeared doesn't seem like that.
It seemed like a regular work day for him.
Yeah, regular work day, and just how everything kind of played out. His truck abandoned there in the middle of nowhere. I doubt it. I doubt that would have been the case.
So whatever happened in there basically is not to his own accord.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing I want to bring up is that the reward money for David's case has now been increased recently to $25,000, and some of this money is coming from the state budget. So I think that's a very good, thing that they're doing. $25K. Hopefully, this is enough to bring someone out. Because if we are thinking that this may have been foul play in this case, I think this would bring out some people
Yeah.
who might know something. But 25K, I don't know. I don't really know how often cases get solved by reward money, but I'm just really glad that they're upping the reward money and that the focus is still on this case. Some other few details that I want to kind of bring into this case that we forgot to mention the last time we were talking about David Schultz's disappearance. The first thing I would like to bring in is that his family was actually planning to grab lunch on the 21st, on the following day. And this is the information coming from his wife, that she talked to a TikTok content creator about. Sarah herself was on vacation for that whole week, something we haven't mentioned. Also, Sarah's initial idea was that maybe David just fell asleep somewhere in the bunk of the semi-truck and just didn't wake up. However, as time passed and when the truck was located, I think she shifted her approach. And now Sarah, her official approach to this case, according to as recently as yesterday, because she had uploaded that, she had talked to that TikTok person yesterday, is that maybe David had been abducted, that he was taken by someone that he doesn't know. That was her comments.
Potentially, yeah.
What do you think about that? What do you think about how the whole scene played out and where could it have happened? Because I've seen some comments online and some interesting thoughts about how David was a little bit late to pick up his load in Eagle Grove. And maybe the fact that he was a little late to pick up the load, someone may have known that he was like the last truck leaving. Do you know what I mean? I'm not trying to cast any like shady allegations towards people working in that Eagle Grove pig location, but I'm just saying, maybe someone knew that he was driving out the last.
Yeah, but for what? I mean, everything's there, except for David.
Except for David, yeah.
I mean, what was the intention?
That's a good point.
For money? Like, I don't know, reward money from David? Just a regular truck driver? Doesn't seem to pan out. And, like, everything's there. Just the fact that everything has been left behind, not even the money is missing. I don't know, it's just pretty odd to me.
Yeah. That is a very good actual explanation. Why would, David... Because he made that route many times. It's not like he was there for his first time. Another thing I want to bring up here really quickly is the fact that we haven't touched upon this, I think, last time, the dog scent. And I think this is a very important detail in this case. So remember that detail with David's coat being left in a ditch? And this was very, very kind of eye-opening a little bit. When David's wife went to the pickup truck, because she was, I think, contacted by, I think how it went down, she called David's phone and a police officer picked up and explained the situation that, we found your husband's truck, and we found the cell phone and this and that. So when she went there to the site, the first thing she reported was that there was a lot of people in and around that truck, which she thinks that police didn't really do a very good job here because they were not treating the pickup truck as a crime scene. A lot of people were coming in and out, so I think DNA, from the perspective of DNA evidence, I feel like the whole scene was probably contaminated. And another thing that was interesting was that there was a canine sniffer dog, and that the dog basically started sniffing, I think, for David, and it led towards the ditch where the coat was at. But then it stopped sniffing immediately. It literally didn't lead anywhere else. And what that could potentially mean, that could mean that maybe David was potentially in some other vehicle, or his body was in some other vehicle, or David himself was already in a different vehicle. And that's why the dogs couldn't really track it anywhere else. Because it would be strange if the dog can track the scent towards the coat, but then completely stops tracking. That's a pretty strange thing, in my opinion.
How deep was that ditch?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I'm not really sure. I can't really comment, but that's a good question.
Yeah.
Because I think he could be in that ditch or something.
I have the impression that, yeah, he could have been somewhere in that field.
And they just missed him during the search and rescue?
I don't know, there might be some hidden ditch in there somewhere.
Because I'm just showing you some images from Google Street View. And to me, it seems like it's just plain fields. Like, I don't see a big
ditch, yeah.
Like a big, you know what I mean, like a hole. It looks like just fields. Doesn't seem like, at least from the Google Street View, I don't really see a place where he could just fall in. At least in the general vicinity of where the car was found, I don't really see where he could just fell in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's true. I always thought, well, I'm not a agricultural expert or a nature expert, but I always thought maybe somewhere in there, somewhere close to his coat, there was something where he fell into and was never found again.
Yeah, and that's a very fair thought, but maybe just not in this case, because I feel like there has been so much people searching. Like the search and rescue was massive for David's case. So not really certain about that one.
It's pretty weird because even if he got into another vehicle, why? Is there something hidden underneath? I mean, if we look at it from this perspective, he was just a regular truck driver. Why would someone abduct him?
And that's a good point. But I want to bring in a little more information. So this is unrelated to David's case. Well, kind of related, but during the search and rescue, the people conducting search and rescue, and I think it was Jacob Rowley and his United Cajun Navy organization that specializes in searching for missing people, they found another body right in the vicinity, somewhere there, of another missing man, Mark Riesberg.
Like just out there in the open?
We have no information. It wasn't released a lot of information. We just know that another missing person's body was found. And Mark Riesberg, a 54-year-old Calhoun County man, was found dead on December 1st inside a vehicle. A month after he was reported missing, Mark, who was reported missing by his employer on November 1st, was reportedly found dead with an apparent gunshot wound. Per multiple reports, Mark was reported missing by his employer as Sentia Protein Solutions in Lytton. The 54-year-old last known contact with people was on October 28, when investigators who found the missing man's phone and wallet at his house did not deem the disappearance as suspicious. His car, a tan Chrysler Cruiser, was also missing from his home. It's unclear if Mark was found inside his missing vehicle. Authorities added that foul play is suspected but declined to release further information, citing an active investigation. However, according to a release from a different source, Mr. Mark's body was found inside of the vehicle with a single gunshot wound, the sheriff reported. The sheriff said that foul play is not suspected, but investigations are ongoing. So I think what they're trying to say here is that Mark Riesberg, another man who went missing recently, had potentially committed suicide because there was only one gunshot wound, and they are not thinking that a foul play was there.
But how did he get there in the first place? Did he walk? It seems like it's in the middle of nowhere.
He was in his car, I think.
And then they found a car nearby?
Yeah, that's so strange. I don't know where exactly they found the car, but just wanted to bring up because at first when I read about it, I was thinking two men, very similar age bracket, went missing during work hours.
Within that same area?
Yeah, within that same area. It's very strange.
Really strange.
Really, really strange. But as far as I understand, Mark's case may have been a suicide, but I don't know. It's really hard to say.
But then again, they only found his body recently when they were looking for David.
Yeah, December 1st, so it's been a couple of months.
So that body was in there for a while and nobody found him.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
That's weird. That's strange. That's just
so weird.
That's a strange detail, but very unfortunate.
Of course.
So very unfortunate to hear what happened to Mark. I didn't even know about this case when the first time I was looking into David Schultz, but unfortunately, Mark is no longer here. So I would say that that's pretty much it from the newest updates. It's just baffling that David Schultz has not been found. A commenter from our original video on David Schultz has provided some theory that kind of caught my interest. This is coming from Stephen McGee. And he says that he's wondering that perhaps David had arranged to meet someone in that particular spot, and that, maybe things got out of hand, a conflict ensued, and maybe David came off worse and he was driven away to who knows where. Maybe that kind of makes a little bit of sense to me because
it does actually.
Because his coat was found in a ditch and the canines seemingly don't have any more scent right after that ditch where the coat is at. So that almost indicates to me that he was potentially driven somewhere out of town, or who knows where. So, and that's that. I would say that's another. Another thing that I wanted to kind of add to the David Schultz case as kind of the last piece of the update is that there is, as I understand, some sort of friction between the sheriff and David's family and people who are trying to find David. Because I don't think that the sheriff, this is according to Sarah, his wife, the sheriff, I think, took some time, did not even meet with the Cajun Navy search people, especially with Jake Rowley, the head of that search. I could be mistaken here. This is not the first-hand account. This is like a secondary source, so I could be completely mistaken here. But I feel like there might be something happening there with the whole sheriff maybe not doing his job correctly. But once again, if they are doing a great job, then sorry for speculating, but just wanted to kind of add that one. That there could be something happening there. Apparently, the sheriff is someone who grew up there. Grew up. He was a local, and some people are thinking that the sheriff is kind of this very controlling, power-seeking person. But maybe he just has some bad blood with the locals. So I wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable speculating further on in that manner. But that's it. That's all we have for David Schultz. So anything you would like to kind of say, or shall we just wait for more updates and see what happens? Hopefully David's found. And I feel terrible for his family. I feel completely devastated for his 10-year-old sons. It's just a disaster.
It's just awful in general. And actually, right now, with all of the information that's happening, it's even more baffling. than it was before.
Yeah, because
Like-
there's still no sign.
Yeah, no sign, and even with additional information, it still doesn't make any sense. Like, what actually happened in there during those hours when nobody's around?
Yeah.
Was it simply just him falling into a ditch, or was it something more complicated, like someone else is involved?
I kind of feel like someone else is involved. And especially after listening to Sarah, his wife, talk, I just don't know. I just don't understand how. Okay, look, he seemingly takes the wrong turn, parks in the middle of the road, leaves everything inside, takes his coat, takes off the coat, drops it in the ditch, and just walks somewhere, and just walks into the fields, and he's never found. That would be some sort of a psychosis event.
Yeah.
Or was he not controlling his truck, gets out, gets into a scuffle with someone, I mean, I
Or
really don't-
maybe was he meeting with someone?
meeting with someone, yeah.
It's just hard to know at this
It's just
point.
hard to know at this point. I'm just kind of hoping that law enforcement has something that they're working on.
Has more information than us right
and,
now.
And maybe they even know potentially what happened, but they're just kind of keeping it close to the vest. They're not trying to jeopardize the investigation. I mean, that's the best case scenario. I'm kind of hoping for that.
Yeah, me too. Well, I was hoping that there was like some sort of dash cam in there, but seems like there wasn't.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I don't think there was a dash cam. I think I read somewhere that maybe dash cam was not used. But yeah, that's David Schultz case. We'll keep you posted, and please check out the donation link if you have some additional funds. Thank you very much for listening to David Schultz Update.